Hello, ladies and gentlemen. What is going on? Hello. Thank you guys for being here. This is your boy, Bunny3000. I'm just trying to cue in all my co-hosts to try to see if we can get everybody up in this piece. Can I hear you, Thicky? I want to see. Yep, there he goes. It's Thicky. Is Makita there? Makita? No, we don't have Makita yet. Oh, she said she talking, but ain't nobody listening. Daggone it. That's all Jason's fault.
It usually is.
Why don't you be IT and stuff?
My bad. Not how we do.
That Makita said, "Cause I'm black."
How does she know?
That's right. You get racially profiled on your own show, girl. Daggone it. Stupid, what you call it, is messing with us today. And of course, I'm trying to crop the video or crop the screen, and I can't crop the screen right. Come on, man. Sign the treaty, baby. Sign the treaty, baby. Okay, say outlines with Alt key. Okay, let's try this again. Alt key. Go like this. No, it's getting smaller.
Oh my god.
Yeah, no, right? Okay, I'm gonna move this over her and this over her. Well, while I'm trying to get all that situated, people, I just did want to let you guys know that we do have a game that is playing over in the corner right now. There's a little bit of gameplay of World of Warships, which I recently got into. We'll probably be talking about that a bit later. And of course, Makita is talking up a storm over there. I see her little icon just keep blipping and blippity blip blip and bleepity bleeping.
She's singing all the songs that she want to sing right now.
She's singing, she dancing. Oh my god, this is busted. I hate you, Skizype. Okay, let's see. Makita, do me a favor. Try going out of the call and back in one more time, I guess. I don't know. See if maybe that works. Something. Okay, yeah, so she's gonna try that out. She knows she's not muted. Maybe it's her volume or something like that. Maybe we'll see if we can get that going. Meanwhile, oh no, that's not what I wanted. It is, but it's not
exactly what you wanted.
It is, but it ain't. Okay, we got this going. We're moving this, we're moving that. So, Thinking Nation.
Yes, sir.
Talk to the people, let the people know what's good in the hood, homie. While we get everything all situated. Ain't nothing good.
Let's see, what was the last week bringing? Grief.
Grief, oh lord. Why was you getting grief last week, man? I heard you was doing the show all by your lonesome. I do my show all by my lonely.
It was. I had like 2 people out there holding it down for me. I appreciate y'all.
Yeah, I heard Viper was in here talking to you. He hit me up a little while ago and told me that y'all was getting down. Yeah,
we were, man. Viper and I were going crazy with movies and TV shows and stuff like that. So.
Word.
Viper was doing. What I did actually, you know what? I forgot that the show was moving this week,
right,
to Wednesday, and I was supposed to hit him up on Twitter and let him know, but I'm sorry.
So sorry.
But yo, I hope he's out there watching, because he's actually a lot of fun. He actually helped make my time go by good, so I appreciate him hanging out. But I got my new whip this week. Yeah, boy.
Word. Oh yeah, that's right. Your Super Dude.
My Super Dude, baby. Love my Super Dude.
I know.
Super Dude feel like a little Bentley right about now. And believe it or not, this week I actually haven't even played that many games, man. It's been crazy. I'm just getting ready because I'm about to be on vacation now. So I got next week, and that's it. The following week I won't be here.
Okay, okay. So, next week. So we'll actually have fun next week.
Sure. So let's see. Let me check here. So it'll be on the 2nd. I won't be here.
Okay, okay. So everybody party time next week, baby.
Right. I'll bring out the 40s.
Sing all the songs that I want to sing.
No, we're going to sing all the songs. I think you want to sing next week.
Nah, next week you're going to be singing by yourself.
And good songs.
Makita's still trying to work things out. Just trying to see what's going on that front. I do not know what is going down. Oh my goodness.
Well,
I just want to say hey. And
well,
I'm going to take a shower.
Give me my water.
That thing?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, it looks like Grim Freak is just gonna come in the chat, so we will try to go in through our agenda via Makita in the Chisnet. So ladies and gentlemen, I know I haven't quite done this intro quite right and everything, and we've been, technologically having some issues, but thank you guys for being here. As always, I am BJ Bunny 3000, along with both of my excellent co-hosts. Grim Freaker up in the chat room holding it down for us. Hopefully she'll probably end up having to do the doing moderation over there in the chat room for any of the people trying to get loose and get ill like they were that last time we were in the show, Jay. They were getting down like raunch with us in the chat rooms. But yes, my other co-host, Jason Dirty Helmato himself, as you see over there in the corner. Makita's like, hey, what up? But yes, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys. We are on our new time so that we can try to get Makita actually on the show on a more regular basis, because we need her. And of course, Skizype is trying to be racist today. They don't want to hear Makita for some reason. I can't make Grim Freaker the mod though, unfortunately right now. I gotta see about I gotta speak to our friends over at Ladies of the Round Table, holding it down here on the channel. Thank you guys, of course, as always, for having us here. What's up, Keo882 over there in the chat room? But today we've got a very, very nice agenda here. We've got some stuff that I'm sure everybody else on the show probably doesn't care about, but Buddy cares about it. That's why I stuck it on the agenda. But I kind of want to start it off a little bit different today and get into some interesting musical topics. And I'm certain Grim Freaker is going to have some interesting things to say about this. And of course, I will make certain that I read some of her responses for all you guys that are only on the video scene, that'll be watching us as we record the show, watching a recording of the show later on. So, Helmato and Grim Freaker, and you over there as well, Keo. If you guys didn't already know, I'm certain you've seen all the memes and everything going all over the internet. Straight out of Compton, straight bum rushed the show all last week. And it's been getting some very, very interesting coverage, if you guys don't already know. Just to give you guys a little bit of background, in case you don't know, N.W.A, niggas with attitude, it was a very, very controversial and very, very, in my eyes, a very, very important hip-hop group that came out back, good lord, when was their debut, Jay? You remember?
Yeah, it was probably like late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, late 80s basically, and of course they were from Compton, and they featured some very, very important figures in hip-hop. Ice Cube, Dr. Dre, Eazy-E, DJ Yella, and MC Ren. And what's so interesting about this movie is well, of course, it is. Who is the director? Is what's his name? Gary, right? I think that's the guy's name. Straight out of Compton. And let's see. Yes, Gary, who's also done. What was the other movie that I think people will probably remember him from? Well, I guess as a director. He has done gosh, I can't think of it. Set It Off was one of his first ones. Did he do Friday? Was he? I'm
looking. I don't think he did Friday. No.
Yeah. He was director. He directed Friday. He was the director for Friday. Yeah, he did Friday also. But you know, he's a well-established director. You know, he's had quite a few things. And what I think was interesting, of course, the movie itself is, I guess you could say, just as controversial as F-Song be eating chips all up in y'all's ear. The movie itself, of course, I guess you could say, is almost as controversial as the group used to be. N.W.A., unless you guys don't know, was one of the first, I guess you could say, gangster rap groups that really gained popularity back in the late 80s. And what was so important, I guess you could say, in terms of the whole hip-hop scene, what was important, the reason why they were so important to the hip-hop scene in that time frame was, for the most part, American radio banned a lot of their music, and yet I forget which video it was or which single it was that kind of hit MTV at the time, that I think was really instrumental in bringing them to the forefront, bringing them to like mainstream. You know,
express yourself.
Was that the one? Yes, yeah, I think that was the one. That was the one. So you know, it was kind of like. I guess you could say a part of why people kind of gravitated to them was because they, at the time, I guess they considered some of the songs that they had activist rap. You know, it was like they were supposedly at the time bringing awareness to what, you know, was really going on in Compton that wasn't really getting a lot of attention from news around the nation in terms of what was going on in Compton.
Rap back then was about not happy-go-lucky stuff, but it was more of, you know, my skill could beat your skill.
Right. It was battle rap, essentially. It was battling,
you know. Right. So, but they actually told a story, which was new on the scene. There wasn't a lot of groups. I can't even remember any group around that time that was actually telling a story about what was going on in L.A., you know, what they had to deal with. You know, they blew the cops up.
yeah, and I think that was a part of the core of what kind of brought them to the forefront, because they talked a lot about police brutality. I won't say a lot, but you know, they had some songs that talked about police brutality.
So After Police was a big one.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean,
but I think also a part of what their controversy was, aside from just their deep hatred of the police system, was there was a lot of misogyny and a lot of, I guess you could say, glorification of drugs, and you know what is pretty much regularly criticized or regularly associated with hip hop. Because gangster rap became so popular, in part due to N.W.A. themselves.
Yep.
And it made them very, very, you know, their popularity just exploded as a result of that controversy. You know, it was like,
oh, it was new, it was fresh, it was raw. I mean,
it was raunch. Yeah, you know, it was it basically edgy. You know, it was very, very edgy. I kind of
almost consider them the Nirvana of hardcore rap, you know, because when they came on the scene, everybody was talking about you know, how their style was wicked, you know, all that
It's
stuff. And
time
all
to
of a
kick
sudden,
it.
right, all of a sudden they came out with some hard grunge shit, and then boom.
Yeah, pretty
Like,
much.
what the hell is this? You know?
Exactly.
And
It, shock treatment kind of thing.
Wicked beats. So,
Mm-hmm.
dude, on top of that, I remember one of my favorite songs off of that album was "Jacking for Beats." That's, even when I hear it now, I'll be like, "Yo, it's still raw."
Mm-hmm.
You know. So they brought a lot of things on scene that actually, you know, I mean, I'm an East Coast guy, but man, they had to make the East Coast rappers, you know, step it up a little bit there.
Right.
You know, they birthed a lot of new rappers. So people don't understand the significance of what they brought to the table. And at the time, they were like, what, 18, 19 when they were dropping that
Yeah,
stuff?
they were mad young.
Yeah.
You know, they were
Ice
mad
Cube,
young.
Jerry Curl, and Eazy's, they were still fresh off the shelf.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much. And I think what's really interesting, you know, I guess you could say about their legacy or whatever. Of course, they have since disbanded. You know, I forget when they really officially disbanded. It was, yeah, it was maybe what, 3 or 4 albums.
Was that much?
It was 3. Yeah, it was 3. Straight Outta Compton, Easy Does It. Oh no, 4. It's Straight Outta Compton, Easy Does It, 100 Miles and Running, and Niggas for Life. Yes. And it looks like it was, you know, and then after then, you know, there was strife within the group, and Ice Cube broke off. Was Ice Cube the first one to leave? I think he was the first.
Didn't he jet?
No, Easy was like supposedly pulling them together. I think Ice Cube was the first to actually leave, and then
died. That's what happened. Yeah, Ice Cube broke out. Then he had Death Certificate.
Right.
Love that song. I mean, not that song, that album, but.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, steady mobbing, baby.
Oh, okay. This is what it is, and of course, I have to utilize Google to actually figure this out because I can't remember. Apparently, Dre and the Doc and Michelle A, they all left, and you know, so that they could join Death Row Records.
Yep.
And Eazy-E, of course, was pissed off, and he got upset at him, and then I think Ice Cube left later and started up what was that group or whatever Ice Cube started up?
Lynch Mob?
Lynch Mob, that's what it was. So, you know, he went and did his own thing with Lynch Mob. Dre did his own thing.
With Geekswagg beats.
Yeah.
Oh, you gotta find that and pump that.
Right. And I mean, essentially that was like the birth, I don't want to say the birth, but that was like the core of gangster rap at the time. Right. And, you know, in part, I won't say in part, it definitely had that mystique about it, mainly because I can't remember. I think Easy was actually a part of a gang, right? I don't think all of them were gang members, but
I can't remember who was in what. But I know there were a lot of affiliates.
Right. They were at the very least they were, you know, definitely affiliated with gang life at the time, right. If not a part of it at the time. Right. You know, and I'm pretty certain
to the next step.
Right, because I know Dre wasn't, because he was already doing production and stuff for other groups, yes. And you know, ended up just coming together with the crew. But again, even within, you know, people that love hip hop, because me personally, I didn't listen to N.W.A. back in the time, and really the closest I got to listening to them was when Ice Cube broke out and was doing his own thing, and that was really, you know, the first my first taste of N.W.A. Aside from just watching, you know, Express Yourself on MTV all the time. But no, Makita, Michelle A was not mentioned in the movie, and that's actually what I kind of wanted to get to.
Did you go see it?
No, I haven't seen it yet. I do want to see it. But yes, F. Garrett, what was very interesting and what I wanted to kind of bring up was there was a real interesting... and I hated that Windows 10 does that little sound. It's like, oh, something, we can do this for you. There was something in Gawker that actually, where they actually had an interview with a lady. Her name is, let's see, what is her name? Dee Barnes. She was, and at the time, I think she was doing like an interview with NWA, and I think it was just an interview with Dre and Ice Cube at the time. And F. Gary Gary, what was interesting was F. Gary Gary was her cameraman at the time. And apparently the interview was, let's see, what did she say? I'm probably gonna get this wrong, but apparently she had an interview with, it was either Dre or Cube or something like that, and apparently something went down, and I think it was Dre that ended up beating her up on camera during this interview or something like this, or after the interview or something weird like that. And I think some other time, I think Ice Cube was even involved with something, something surrounding here. But I think it was Dre. Yeah, Dre was the one that attacked her. And
slapped her?
Say what?
When he slapped her?
Well, again, there's basically, I think she said it was more than just a slap. It was like he knocked her down, pushed her through a door or something like that, and was beating on her on the ground, and then got up, and what was interesting was, in the article itself, and you guys should definitely read it because I think it's very, it's very interesting, it's very telling. But, she said that she was glad, she saw the movie, and she was glad that she was interested that they didn't put anything, of course, that really spoke to the event, or even said anything about the fact that Dre regularly apparently beat on women, because also I saw something, I think it was like on Vlad TV or something like that, there was an interview with Michelle A, who was Dre's girlfriend at the time, when they were just getting, when they were just becoming pretty big. Michelle A was his girlfriend, and even she said she was actually glad that she wasn't depicted in the movie. And the interviewer in the video was like, well, why are you glad? And she was like, well, it wouldn't have really have been relevant for them to put put her in there, because apparently, and this was her quote, she said, I was just a quiet girlfriend who got beat on and told to sit down and shut up. And the way she kind of explained it was, she didn't feel that having that, she figured that apparently that wasn't a focus or anything that they wanted to really broach in the movie. Which of course is interesting, considering F. Gary Gary, he knows about everything, that went down, especially the event that happened with Dee Barnes. And apparently it was well known that Dre regularly beat on not only just Michelle A, but other women as well. And it's said that in other interviews that he's apologized, and he would just say, oh, I was young, I was dumb, I would never do anything like that again. But I think somewhere in there was talk of that I think she brought a case against Dre or something like that, and that it was settled out of court, and that was really all that really happened with any of that. So of course, part of the reason this movie even got made was because it was funded or executive produced by Dre as well as Ice Cube. So it's quite, I guess I won't say it's quite telling. It's definitely I guess you would say it's, I don't want to say it's understood, but it's not a surprise that events like this were not in the movie. And the way that it was kind of portrayed wasn't necessarily in a light that they were flawed people necessarily. It was more like, hey, this is our rise, this is our success, you know. And then that part of it, which is well documented, and you know, of course, the hip hop scene knows all about, you know, people in hip hop know all about. You know, they of course just omitted that part for the sake of Hollywoodization, I guess you would say. So it's interesting to see people's feedback when they see the movie. You know, of course, Ice Cube's son is in the movie playing as Ice Cube. You know, and the portrayals, yes, as Makita says, they are portrayed as heroes because of the controversy or the struggle that they went through. And I mean, it is what it is. What they did was what they did. But of course, one of the more striking memes I think that they even had on at the very end of it was straight out of misogyny. You know, it was always and has always been a part of hip hop that, you know, when you do something, you be true to yourself, you be true to what really happened, you know, tell the truth. And authenticity is and has always been big in hip hop. You know, we see it with anytime there's a rumor of somebody having a ghostwriter, how many times MCs go, oh hell no, that didn't happen, I write all my stuff, son, you know, all that kind of stuff. Authenticity is very, very important in hip hop. So to have, you know, to have something like this, you know, is I think it's just interesting. I'm still gonna go see it because, you know, I'm just interested in seeing it and see what was actually done, what was actually portrayed. And apparently, you know, Makita's also saying, even though they didn't portray it so much in the movie, misogyny was all in the casting call as well. So, you know, again, it ignores some of the harsh realities of what NWA really was back in the day. But of course, you know, it's business. You know, they're making Hollywood. This is not a true, as you can imagine, people are taking this for what it is. It's a Hollywoodization of the group, not necessarily a, you know, Oliver Stone documentary that reveals the good and the bad side of it, of everything. You know what I mean? And I think you know, and Jay, did you see? And I, you know, this isn't quite a good real comparison, but did you see Notorious? Because I mean, there really aren't that many definitive hip hop movies or whatever to really go through. And Makita was also saying that, you know, one of the biggest reasons that she didn't see it was because of all the misogyny in the, you know, casting call and them not, and, you know, their portrayals of black women in the movie itself. So,
well, I know there's, you know, people try to be authentic in hip hop, like you mentioned. Any movie they do like that, you're not gonna get the full story. I mean, no. They're just gonna
not, especially when it's not funded by Dre and, you know, Cube. They're not gonna they're not gonna be bearing all themselves, no, you know, for something that they're paying for.
Look, if I was writing a movie about my life and it was great, I'd put all the best things in there.
Right, and leave all the bad stuff out.
Yeah, you know, or glaze over it very lightly. You know,
right.
And, you know, like, you know, the same thing you're talking about, like when that big movie came out, they were like, oh, what about this, what about that? You know,
right.
And if you go to the movies expecting that, you're just not going to have a good time. I think you can take it for what it is, and I think they're probably going to get 70% of it correct, and, you know, you enjoy it. But any movie, even with I'm not even talking about like just these kind of movies, but any movie that's depicting somebody, and you know they're trying. You know, it doesn't matter how bad they were in life unless you're doing something like on Hitler. Mm-hmm. You know, they're gonna show you the lighter side of the story.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And that's how it always been. So I think, you know, people got to, you know, bring it down a notch a little bit and understand that's what you're gonna get. You know, you're never gonna get the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's one of those things. It's very interesting. It tells a story, you know, not necessarily the real story, but you know, it's there. It's there, and it's you know, it's a depiction of hip hop, you know. And Makita is saying she does not agree with you. I do not think people should have to bring it down a notch, which is true. It's really one of those things where I think the reason why certain things are done is mainly because of how Hollywood is, unfortunately.
And that's what I mean, bring it down a notch. I mean, you're not
right.
You know, don't get fired up about it. It's,
and,
you know,
and the thing is,
thing.
And I see what...
mean, not even with that, but with comic book. Look at it. You know how many people don't go see comic book movies because they screw up the plot?
Right.
Or
and they're screwing it up because that's what the studio basically is telling them they can do or they cannot do, you know, in terms of what they release. Same thing with these movies. Right. And I mean, if you think about it, a movie like this being put out there and being released, you know, this is a major release. This isn't, you know, a BET special or anything like that. So, I mean, he's getting big time release in, you know, all the major theaters across the nation. And that's, of course, in part because of whatever arrangements or deals that he's made in terms of the content. There's no telling what F. Gary was or was not allowed to put in there that he may have filmed. And then Makita saying, but that's a bit of a cop-out. It's upsetting when you have casting calls saying black women are low tier. Well, in truth, and I don't want to say in truth, I think a part of, you know, the way that they did the casting call was because of the way, you know, like you said, or like we were talking about, because of the misogyny and because of what they were and what they did and how they treated women back then. That's in my eyes, that's, I guess, why they had the casting call the way that it was.
Right.
You know, I guess,
actually,
I don't know.
I don't remember it. Didn't they get what was that group back in the day? They used to have them all up in the like those hearings, and I forgot the name of them. It slipped my mind. They used to do it with all these artists, like the heavy metal artists, the rap artists, because they were accusing the heavy metal guys of devil worshipping and all the other guys are accusing them, you know, because of their lyrics, you know, the way
right.
they was it? No, it wasn't Mad, was it? Was it Mad?
What, the TV show?
No, they had like this group.
Oh, yes, Mothers Against Mother. It wasn't. Oh man, that's Mothers Against Drunk Driving. It was. It was another group.
It was. You know what?
Yes,
I forgot the name.
There were a lot of groups.
There were a lot of them, right? And I'm sure they probably don't put that in there. And what they were doing was disgusting and degrading.
Mm-hmm.
You know, on a lot of levels. So, I mean, you know, their whole point was, you know, you shouldn't, every time, you know, every reference you have to a woman, she shouldn't be a bitch or a hoe. And that's kind of like in any reference, even when they were talking about their girlfriends, they were saying it like that. So, you know, yeah, they're, you know, like I said, to make light of it, they wouldn't put that in there. You know, the only way you would know that is like if you grew up around that time and you knew that, or you did some deeper research.
Mm-hmm. You know. And Makita was saying that part of the casting call, the issue that she was saying wasn't necessarily about how the script was written in terms of how they actually, you know, were portraying women back then, but was basically saying that it was just written in a very prejudiced way, as if it was just straight ignorance. So, you know, if it was talking about a particular character or a particular person, the description of that person and how that person was supposed to act or whatever was just straight ignorant, you know, that kind of a deal.
They did like a 180 on the person.
Yeah, and which is actually kind of interesting. I saw something else on what was it? What was that site? And Parodian. I'm sorry, we're talking about straight out of Compton. And yes, wow! Thank you for joining us from Barcelona. Welcome to the Geekswagg podcast. Thank you for joining us. We're talking about Straight Outta Compton and some of the controversy around, you know, depiction of black women, as well as just controversy around the group itself, and how you know, just how the movie was kind of one-sided in terms of its portrayal of the group. But see, I can't even remember what we were talking about now. We were talking about when it came to like different casting calls, and how, you know, how in the script there was I forget what site it was. I think it was BuzzFeed. They had a video where they had a number of, I guess, people that were going through certain scripts in a casting call, and they were reviewing the casting call itself. So they were reading certain portions of, you know, certain portions of the script where they would actually describe a particular character, and how extremely stereotypical or ignorant a lot of the descriptions of the characters and everything were, you know, in terms of how they said, okay, you know, maybe, you know, hot Latina mama that is very passionate and hot-tempered, you know, that kind of thing, where the depiction of that particular character was a regular stereotype of that particular race or demographic or whatever. And then, of course, talking about the way that particular person would act in the movie was, you know, just one of those ignorant kind of stereotypical things, you know, like Latinas always do, that kind of thing, you know. So it was kind of interesting to see that kind of thing. Also, for me myself, it was like on my on one of my news feeds. It kind of popped up right after the article that I was talking about, towards the Dee Barnes in her interview that had to do with Straight Outta Compton and everything. But yes, Parodian, you know, historically Compton has been a dangerous place. I don't think it's as dangerous as it used to be, but you know, N.W.A., that was a part of what made them very made them very risque and very I guess you could say edgy, because of all you know, during that time in the late 80s, I guess what was it, crack was very damaging to a lot of the low-income communities all over the nation. Yep. And in particular in Compton. So, you know, for them to show, you know, so a lot of that talk of crack dealing, crackheads, gangs, you know, gang violence, misogyny, police brutality, all those kind of things were regular lyrics that the N.W.A. basically had during that time. So a lot of that got a lot more attention, of course, once it became more popular. You know, I guess you could say white America kind of clung to it at the time because it was so edgy, almost in the same way that you could say 2 Live Crew, they got a lot of their you know, they got a lot of popularity and a lot of notoriety because they were banned in the USA as well. So once people kept hearing, oh, this 2 Live Crew group, why are they getting so much news or whatever? Well, it was because, you know, they weren't really getting, I don't want to say they weren't very popular, but because they were banned in certain areas, it made them even more popular. You know,
Yep.
so mainstream America, not mainstream America, I guess you
I
could
didn't
say.
even really like their music at all.
I didn't either, but you know, it became popular because of a lot of the controversy, and I guess you could say that was a part of what record labels all of a sudden started gravitating to. They saw that controversy was making a lot of hip hop acts popular to, you know, I guess you could say the youth. You know, whether it was middle class youth or, you know, more what's the word I'm looking for? You know, just other youth that weren't necessarily impoverished. You know, they would cling to whatever of the time was just risque and controversial or whatever, just to say they were cool. You know what I mean? So that became the thing. You know, whatever the new controversial hip hop group was, you know, record labels all of a sudden just thought that that's all hip hop was when it came to like, what was that time frame? Maybe like late 80s, early 90s or whatever, and they kind of gravitated to introducing acts in that genre, the gangster rap genre. So. As I said before, you know, Straight Outta Compton, it's new, it's out there, and it's definitely gonna keep getting, you know, people are definitely gonna keep talking about it because, you know, it's doing decent in the theaters, and you know, there's a lot of history in it. There's a lot that is in there, and there's a decent amount that is in there. So, you know, people are gonna see it, and if you haven't seen it, you know, keep that in mind. You know, it's not, I guess you could say, what people would consider a true documentary. It is a, I guess you could say, a one-sided account of what all happened and what all was going on in that time frame. Right. Entertainment you know, purposes. You know, so. But yes, that's Straight Outta Compton. I just kind of want to bring that up since that's been in the news recently. Also, I guess to kind of stick to a little bit of what you know, what has been going on in music. I know, at least in hip hop, and I think it'll be interesting to see what you guys think of this, Makita and Jay. You know, hip hop has always seen, as we were talking about before, hip hop's always seen a lot of beef. You know, there's always been a lot of beef between different MCs and everything. Everyone always jockeying for who is supposedly has the crown. Whoever the top MC is, whoever the greatest of all time is. There's always lists that people are making saying, you know, who's the greatest MC of all time, blah, 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 blah. And then, of course, all the MCs get caught up in it. And they also, hey, what's going on, Constance? Thanks for joining us. You know, MCs get caught up in it too, you know, because, of course, a big part of hip-hop, which has always been a big part of hip-hop, has been battle rap. So anytime beef would happen between MCs, whether it was on a personal nature or strictly professional, or, you know, hey, you know, they just mention another MC's name or something like that, typically what happens in beef in hip-hop is, you know, they start releasing you know, they just start releasing diss tracks, right? So, of course, recently, Drake and Meek Mill kind of went at it, right? You hear about this, Jay?
Briefly.
Right, you hear, and I'm certain, I suppose Makita's heard about it, but apparently Meek Mill went to Twitter and he was just mouthing off and said that Drake doesn't write all of his rhymes. He has a ghostwriter, which of course I guess you could say is one of those truths of the industry that isn't necessarily talked about when it comes to the upper tier MCs. A lot of the upper tier MCs, I won't say a lot, some upper tier MCs utilize ghostwriters. For some, it's considered for it to be okay. So like Dr. Dre, it's well known that Dr. Dre doesn't necessarily write all of his own rhymes. He has somebody else do it for him. But people don't necessarily care because they know that Dre is primarily a producer. So they're like, you know, he doesn't necessarily write rhymes. That's not his thing. His whole thing is delivery, right? So nobody really cares if somebody like Dre has a ghostwriter. But when it comes to, like, you know, your top tier MCs that are supposedly considered greatest of all time, if somebody came out and said, oh, I was a ghostwriter for Eminem or a ghostwriter for Jay-Z or something like that, then people will be like, oh snap, you know. So all of a sudden that would throw into question, okay, which songs that are considered some of that artist's best you know, verses ever were really them, right? So when Meek Mill, you know, started mouthing off and said, oh, Drake doesn't write all his own rhymes, so and so wrote the rhyme for, I forget what song it was like 0 to 100 or something like that, I can't remember which one. You know, of course Drake, you know, the emotional rapper or emotional person that he is, everyone always has all these little funny nicknames for Drake because he's very emotional, and he you know, he gets very, very offended and gets very, very you know, he starts mouthing off at any little thing that people say that's bad about him. So it's always funny to see him overreact to certain things. But in this particular case, Drake went off, and all of a sudden he dropped like 2 or 3 diss tracks, one after the other. He was performing them live. He was doing all kinds of stuff. He blew Meek Mill up, to the point that even some of the diss tracks are like are in rotation regularly on, you know, on radio nowadays, right? And everyone sat there and waited, and they were like, oh, this will be cool. Yes, Drake was on a TV show long time ago. I can't even remember the name of the show. It was some like high school show or something like that. But yes, he was on a TV show way back in the day. And so, you know, he blows Meek Mill's spot up, and of course one of the, you know, infamous lines that he has is, of course, talking about the fact that Meek Mill is dating Nicki Minaj, and, you know, basically telling him to, okay, you don't necessarily need to talk because, you know, your girl basically is the one running the tour, and you're like, you know, your girl's headline the tour and you're not, so you don't need to really be talking. You know, your girl's more popular than you are. You know, just as a diss, and that basically, you know, everybody was all ready for Meek Mill to like just jump all down his throat and have his own diss tracks or whatever, and it took him so long for him to really even put out anything. A lot of people, even his own people, were just shaking their heads like, yo, well, dude, you just kind of lost that battle. And, you know, in the past, I guess you would say, something like that, where, you know, a beef will come up that's very popular or very well known, and for an MC to kind of lose, I guess you could say, that battle or that beef or whatever, would be a bit more important, because we all know what happened with Ja Rule and 50. You know, once 50 and, you know, everybody, you know, like M50 and everybody in G Unit, once they all jumped down Ja Rule's throat and he lost that beef battle with 50 and the whole crew, that was basically the end of Ja Rule's career. You know, once he lost that beef, it was like Ja Rule and the whole Murder Inc. crew, it was like their popularity just dropped, and it continued to drop until most of them basically just disappeared from, you know, I guess you would say, the mainstream hip-hop scene, you know. But nowadays, it's definitely a lot less important. And I thought what was interesting, not too long after this whole beef or whatever happened, Mos Def got on YouTube, and he had this video where he was basically mocking the whole deal. You know, he was like, hip hop has progressed so far that for us to be worried about who is the greatest of all time, number one, much less who's the greatest MC alive, is like non-important. It's nowhere near as important as it used to be, you know, back in like the 90s and the 80s or whatever, where everyone's jockeying for, you know, that big time notoriety, because, you know, mainstream, whether it was mainstream media or the labels or whatever, there were only a few that they would really allow to be able to get like commercial money. You know, hip hop artists weren't necessarily considered for a lot of that commercial money necessarily back in the day. So it was always important. I don't want to say always important, but it was more important back then. If you had a top dog back then, they would probably get approached a little bit more often than nowadays, right? Because nowadays everybody gets, you know, in hip hop for the most part gets that commercial money, I guess you could say, if they're considered mainstream. So I thought it was interesting that he put up a challenge on YouTube, basically saying between him, if he, Black Thought, and I forget what the other guy's name was, basically challenged anybody in the industry. He was like, he put up $1 million and he challenged anybody in the industry or whatever, and he feels like that they would win. And quickly, Lupe Fiasco gets his team together. He gets a few MCs together, and he's like, yo, look, you putting up $1 million, I'm down. Name the time, name the place, let's go at it, let's battle. Right? And then all of a sudden, like real quick, Mos Def puts up another video, and he was like, look, I'm not interested in battle rapping. He's like, the time for battle rapping and spending time writing diss tracks or whatever, it's pointless, it's comical. He's like, that's not what I'm talking about. And he was like, yeah, I know you guys saw me put up the challenge or whatever, and this sounds like I'm contradicting myself, but I'm not interested in battle rapping. That's not fun to me. You know, and in my eyes, he was like, what does that do? You know, even whoever wins or whoever loses or whatever, that's not what determines a real winner. You know, when you look at music or whatever, you do it not necessarily to see who gets the most hits on YouTube or whatever. You do it because you feel like it's real. You feel like it's the truth. You feel like it's yours, and that nobody can do what you do, right? As an artist, period. And it's not necessarily meant to be who sells the most singles or who sells the most, because as it's always seen, you know, we've always heard it for like the last decade. Everyone's always talking hip hop is dead and everything, because what's selling in hip hop right now is, I guess you could say, not in line with what I guess you could say the true art form of hip hop was intended to be. And of course, hip hop has to evolve, just like any other art form. But as you would always hear, a lot of the old heads will always say, you know, what's popular today in hip hop is not. What's the word I would use, Jay? What would you say? Not real?
I just call it, it's not hip hop. It's not what hip hop and rap was. You know, it's not
right.
Or I don't even know what you call it.
Right. And Constance even says thinks of rap battles as a game and not music. And I can kind of see that, you know.
Yes, rap battles back in the day were more for fun. It was like if you went to a club, right, and you had two DJs out there and their MCs out there, and you know they'd battle, you know, and they were there to entertain the crowd with some slick rap. But
it's bravado. Whoever gets the most laughs or the most O's or whatever at the moment, yo, you get the prize for the night.
You get the prize for the night. And when they were done, you know what those guys were doing? They were sitting in the back in the VIP having a great time.
Right, dabbing it up, drinking together, having fun and dancing. That's what it was.
Yeah, you got now diss tracks is like, I hate you, son.
I'm gonna kill you. It's crazy.
What you're saying about what Mos Def would say, you're right. It is comical.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean with some of this stuff, you know, like with the movie and things like that. People take it a little too seriously. There are a lot of, I think, you know, there are a lot more things you can focus your energy on. that's positive.
Yeah.
And, you know, who's running a rap battle, or you can diss me about something. I wish somebody would diss me about my girl making mad money. They'd be like,
like, yup, and I'm chilling in VIP with her.
That's right. I have lived in the city.
Oh,
like,
man.
Come on, baby, let's go get me a Bentley coupe and a bucket of fried chicken.
Yeah, anything. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But yes, that, I guess you could say that, unfortunately, is still the state of hip hop today. I mean, I guess in my eyes, I think it's slowly progressing away from, you know, I don't want to say even slowly. It's definitely progressing away from gangster rap necessarily being the predominant, you know, popular form of hip hop that you hear, or that's popular.
It's not even fun rap like or hip hop like, you know, like Tribe Called Quest. You know, they were kind of like on the, you know, they were far from gangster rap, but they had good tunes. You know.
Right.
You know, none of that stuff's happening anymore. I almost kind of consider it. I don't even consider it rap. Some of the stuff I hear, it just sounds like pop music to me.
Right, and I think that's kind of what it's kind of progressed to.
Because I mean, I love me some Michael Jackson, but you know what I'm saying?
Yes,
you know, right. But
hip hop is definitely evolved, and you know what? I want to find that article, that interview that Questlove had, where he was talking about what's her name, Iggy Azalea, because you know there's been a lot of talk about Iggy, and
she's been hiding for it for the last like 6 months.
Well, she's burnt out, you know, and I think that's what it was. She had a tour that she was supposed to be going on, but she even said herself she was burnt out, and she felt like if she went on a headlining world tour right now, she would be doing Fancy and her first album so much that she'd be sick of it. She doesn't necessarily have a large body of work for her to headline in a
like,
tour.
You know, she's not like 3 albums deep where she has like 40 songs or something like that.
Yes, and so, you know, she was like, you know what, I've been doing and playing Fancy, you know, so much because it's become so big and everything, that she was like, you know what, I'm going to take some time off. I'm going to go back in the lab and do some more music or whatever. I'm not going to do a tour. I'll come back later and do another tour. But here it is. Here's an interesting quote that Questlove had from a news outlet asking whether or not he's pro or anti-Iggy. He said, you know, we as black people have to come to grips that hip-hop is a contagious culture. If you love something, you gotta set it free. Yep. I will say that Fancy, above any song I've ever heard or dealt with, is a game changer in the fact that we're truly going to have to come to grips with the fact that hip-hop has spread its wings. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm torn between the opinions on the internet. But I'm going to let Iggy be Iggy. It's not even politically correct dribble. The song is effective. I'm in the middle of the approximation of the enunciation, and that's basically, you know, the way her accent that she uses when she, you know, when she raps, essentially. Part of me hopes that she'll grow out of that and stays with her regular dialect. I think that would be cooler. But yeah, Fancy is the song of the summer. So, you know, a lot of people, of course, I won't say a lot of people, there's been a lot of debate over Iggy Azalea and the fact that when she rhymes, she basically sounds like T.I., who basically signed her. I mean, she sounded like that before, you know, T.I. signed her, and she's from Australia. Yep. So, you know, people would always say, okay, why does she sound like she from, you know, right down the block, T.I., you know, in ATL, whereas she's from Australia? Why does she have to sound like that? And, you know, it is what it is, because as always in hip-hop, when you're a performer, when you're an MC, you're a character. You're a different person. You're not necessarily, you know, even other MCs have always said, you know, some of the, whether it's either their lyrics or whatever, it's a caricature of who they really are. It's not necessarily who they are. Right. So even with that, who cares what you sound like, you know, when you are rhyming? It shouldn't necessarily matter, but I guess some people feel some kind of way because she sounds like she's from ATL, and she's got a better, or some people may not consider her, I guess, accent authentic, whereas others will be like, yo, I love the dialect, you know, or her enunciation or whatever.
I look at it like you ever hear like British people talk and then they start singing. It sounds like
right. They sound like they from like over here in Connecticut. You're like, oh snap, and then all of a sudden they start talking. You're like, yo, where'd that accent come from? I didn't know you were British.
Yeah, I'm coming to you.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of soul singers like that. That Daly and Marsha Ambrosius and Leanne LaHava. I can't even pronounce her last name. LaHavas and Joss Stone and there's a lot of soul singers that are like that. All of a sudden they start talking and you're like, oh, you're British.
Because what they're doing, I mean, you got to understand, like,
they're performers.
They're performers, and not only that, like, you're right. Whatever music it is, it's evolving. Like, they listen to a lot of that stuff over there. So what they're hearing. They're going to create a style based off of that.
Yes, based off of what they hear and what their influences are.
Right. You remember Living Color? That hard rock band?
yeah, I remember them.
If you didn't see them, you wouldn't know they were a bunch of brothers.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? But that's what they listen to. So, it can go both ways.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I think, like, I'm not a big Easy fan, but, like, like, the song Fancy is very catchy. You be in the car, you be like, yeah.
Exactly. My daughter sings all the time. She loves I'm so fancy.
I've heard some of her freestyle stuff, which is actually, I thought was really good.
Yeah, she's got skill, and I mean, she's learning. Just like T.I. is definitely one of the. He's an ill MC, and it's good for her to be associated, with an MC like that, because he's gonna teach her how important that is, for her to write her own stuff. And I think I can't remember if it was Nicki. I think Nicki Minaj, she kind of made light of that, in some of her award speeches, that a lot of people thought that she was really talking to Iggy Azalea at that point, when she was clowning other female MCs, saying, that she's one of the only female MCs that writes all her own rhymes. And of course, since Iggy is one of the other larger female MCs out there, everyone thought she was talking about her. And, Nicki basically said she not necessarily corrected herself, but she made it known afterwards that she was like, look, I don't know whether she writes her rhymes or not. I was just making that as a blanket statement, because that, when it comes to MCs and hip hop or whatever, that's one of the big things that great MCs pride themselves on, that they are, true poets, I guess you would say, and that's a big part of authenticity in terms of being one of the greatest of all time, or just being great, period, and having something to strive towards in terms of an art form, rather than letting someone do it for you, doing it for yourself. And you'll see artists, a lot of artists do that. Sometimes, you'll see singers that'll start off singing and then all of a sudden they'll start picking up instruments and, doing other stuff, whether it's seeing an artist or seeing an MC that'll say, hey, okay, I think I have a decent enough voice, or I have a horrible voice, but I want to sing now, or they'll start producing, or, just all different kinds of stuff. As an artist, there should always be some level of evolution to your craft, and that's always, and that has always been an important part of hip hop. Saying, hey, if you're gonna be an MC, that should be, a lot of them are like, look, that should be the very, very most basic level. You should write your own stuff, period. If you're an MC, that should be understood that you write your own stuff, But, that's how the industry is. It's very interesting how perceptions are, how people take different things, if it's a different genre or whatever. Thanks for joining us, Constance. Yes. But yes, let's get on to what we typically talk about here on Geekswagg is those games. As you see here, I got a bit of World of Warships up here. Did you ever? Speaking of which, did you ever end up playing that game, Jay? That other free-to-play one called that they have, World of Tanks. That's what it was.
Yes, actually, I did play it for a while. On the 360, and I didn't like it. I really didn't. But I know they're like, from other stuff that I've seen, there's just a lot of people that love it, and they're on it all the time. I mean, the game is free if you want to get like all the extra fun stuff. It's cheap. I think it's like $10. You can download all the expansions and stuff like that.
Well, I mean, it's free to play. I mean, you can play it for free, and then they have add-ons, just like all their other things. That if you want certain tanks or if you want certain things, you can buy them, so that you'll have access to them throughout the game.
And you get them a lot faster than earning it through
in-game currency. Yep.
So it's, I don't know. I wasn't too into it.
So let me guess, you probably wouldn't play something like World of Warships.
No.
No. Okay.
No, I've been watching it playing in the background there and just not even.
Yeah. I got open when I started playing it, and you know me. One of the things I think I've always loved about any game that has to do with shooting is, and you know what I always do, Jay. I always do what? I snipe.
Right. I see you laying off in the distance there with that ship. You ain't even trying to get close.
Oh hell no! Are you kidding me? I mean, in my eyes, that's kind of the purpose. But I mean, it depends on which ship you end up using. But I think in one of the things that kind of drew me to it is, you remember when we played Halo back in the day. And what was that thing? The fuel rod. The way they did the fuel rod, where if you lobbed it, it was like you had to judge the distance and all that other kind of stuff, right? When you're using the fuel rod, and how nobody else could figure out how to use it effectively, but it was like, for some reason I just had to master it. That was like my favorite weapon. That's kind of what it brought me back to, just looking at ships off in the distance and being like, let's see if I can hit it from like the very edge of my cannon's, effectiveness. So, like you saw in the video.
That's the way I am in Battlefield.
Right.
Like, I mean, my dude, I'm talking about, I'm hitting like 200-300 yard sniper shots. I could actually see my bullet curve.
Right.
That's how far I'm shooting.
Right, and getting headshots and all other kind of stuff. So, as I started, I started off, and when you first start off, you're only able to use a certain class of the warships, and the way they have it set up is, as you go through it, you earn experience with one ship, and then it allows you to upgrade that ship until you can, I guess you could say, unlock and research the next ship, which might be another class. And it's kind of like a tree structure, like a pyramid. So you'll have one ship in the middle, and then it'll open up to all the other different ones, and they'll be at different classes. So you've got your cruisers, your battleships, your destroyers, and your aircraft carriers. And you'll start off with a cruiser, which is like a basic, small, highly maneuverable ship, with okay weaponry, and then you go to like the battleships, which have just massive guns all over the whole thing. Destroyers are small but fast, but they have torpedoes, and I think some of the destroyers have torpedoes, but not all of them. And then of course you've got your aircraft carriers that basically don't have much of weaponry at all. All they have are just your attack aircraft. And so, as you can imagine, as like with war tanks or whatever, you can get into a match, and everyone will be going off by themselves, trying to do whatever the objective is, trying to destroy as many of the tanks as possible. And what I've kind of come to learn, because they've got like 3 games, they've got World Tanks, World of Warships, and World of Warplanes is the way they've designed each one of these is that, yeah, okay, you can get in a match and you can just go off, find the closest tank or enemy and just try to duke it out. Or you can actually try to use some kind of tactics, use a formation, use some kind of actual maneuvers, that kind of thing, with a group to actually take down your foes. And, and that's kind of normal with, I guess you could say, games in this ilk. Like, the other game that I play all the time, Mech Warrior Online. And, you get in those clans and they start working in formations. It's like, dude, they can take out the other team in, a minute. Like I forget how many ships can be on one map at a time, but the last thing you want is like a whole bunch of destroyers, all over the map, because those torpedoes do a lot of damage, to any ship. So anytime you see a destroyer that is sending off like eight torpedoes at a time at different arcs coming at your ship or whatever, it's like you're just shaking your head like, oh my gosh, if like 2 of those things hit you, you're dead. But I always like games where if you have that kind of dynamic where it takes a lot of skill to be able to take those kind of long range shots, or make certain that you turn your ship in a particular position so that a majority of your cannons can actually focus in on your target, getting the most out of each shot, because of course it takes time to reload. There's actual location damage. So if you hit the ship in a particular spot or whatever, you can do like critical damage. You can destroy the engine. You can actually destroy their guns, or you can make it start flooding, you can make it start burning, which will do progressive damage, that kind of thing. It's more than just, oh, you gotta hit it 5 times with this cannon in order for it to blow up. There's different ways that you can take down different ships, and you hit one ship the right way with the right kind of weaponry and you can almost take it out with like 2 shots or something like that. So there's a lot of strategy that can go on in these games, which I didn't realize, just looking at it from afar, because I would always see them at Comic-Con. They'd have like tournaments and stuff like that. And, I'd be like, yo, who wants to, sit around and watch, or even just like you, Jay, sit around and watch or play a game with just tanks. And tanks are mad slow. I mean, you can even see it in Battlefield. Battlefield would be kind of boring if the only thing that was in there were tanks. You know what I mean? It wouldn't necessarily be fun, which is kind of what makes Battlefield fun to me. You've got tanks, but you also have, your you've also got what is it? You've got your helicopters, you've got your aircraft, which aren't necessarily that effective when you've got land units and stuff like that.
It depends. If you got a good helicopter pilot, you could be up there for a long time.
Yeah, the helicopters, yes, but I'm talking more like the jet fighters. It's kind of hard for the jet fighters to be extremely effective against ground
unless you're
targets.
On a super big map and
Yeah, but still, it's got a great mix of a lot of different kinds of battlefield weaponry. Whereas you can't get out of the tank, or you can't put landmines, or you can't have somebody throw C4 in the right place like you can in Battlefield on World of Tanks. So in my eyes, it would kind of just be like, okay, let me hit this tank in the right spot or something like. I don't know. I've never played it. I can't necessarily say, but it kind of made more sense to me in the whole World of Warships pantheon. It worked better, as I was playing it. So it's to me, it's interesting. I'm enjoying it. I'm actually having a blast with it. It's very difficult to learn how to play certain classes of warships or whatever, but it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. What about you, Thinking Nation? Anything you digging into there, man?
Right now, there isn't much that I'm playing that's new. Actually, the only thing I've been firing up, I've been on a Battlefield kick the last week.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, which one? That should be the question. Which one? Hardline or 4?
4 Battlefield.
Okay.
So I've been firing up because I took the plunge and I did some Windows 10, and it actually runs a little better on my Windows 10 machine. So I've been playing that, and I've been enjoying it. So I've been trying to rank myself up on a PC version, and starting over with a lot of the guns was actually fun. I mean, I love that. Forgot how much I love that bolt action sniper rifle. The first one you get. Once you get the straight pull, it's just that's having a lot of fun.
Right.
So I've been playing that. There's another game that I saw. It went down cheap that I might pick up. What's it called? Something of the Fallen. It's like a little RPG.
Oh,
Lords of the Fallen. That's it.
Yeah. It's like supposedly a more forgiving version of Dark Souls.
Yeah. So I saw it on Amazon. It was really cheap, so I ordered that up. So I'll probably have that in another week or so.
Right.
And I'm gonna probably jump on that because that looks like a fun game.
Yeah. I heard it's pretty good.
I heard it's short too. It's not long, but
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't want to pay $60 for it, so they had a deal. I think I got it for like $19. So that was definitely. I was like, you know what, my price.
Yeah.
So
I did that with Hardline, so I've been kind of doing a little bit of that with Hardline.
Yeah, I did it at $29, and like I actually like Hardline. I don't like the multiplayer, which is just rough because even when you play Conquest and large Conquest, it's not really large; it's still small.
Right.
Yeah. So, like, have you played the main story?
I started it, but you know how it is once you get into it. Like I had started it trying to wait for the whole thing to install.
Oh, okay.
But then once it installed, I was like, yo, I want to actually start getting some achievement. Start getting my character up levels and stuff like that. So I've been grinding just so I can get equipment, that kind of thing right now.
Okay, yeah, because I think you would actually like the single player. The single player isn't half bad. Probably one of the better ones. The cop stuff. There are a couple of stealthy missions out there which I had a lot of fun with. And you can go both ways. You can go stealthy, or you can just go. You know what? I'm just going to rack up guns and just kill everybody.
Right.
So it gives you the option. I thought it was nice. Some of the backstory is pretty good. You'll recognize some of the actors in there. You'll see some people like, oh, that's my boy. So,
from what you call it.
yeah, but I forgot his name though. So I've been playing that, and I've been looking at some of these new what you call it? Not new movies. Smite. That's what I want to say. Smite.
Yes, free to play MOBA.
Yeah. So I might jump on that.
Yep.
This weekend because I saw when they had the beta of it, and it looked like a lot of just hacky / fun.
Yeah, it's a little more than that.
It's a little more than that, but
yeah. But yeah, that's the basics of it. Yeah.
So I don't know if you're gonna get up on that if you're.
I'm definitely gonna try it. I mean, hey, it's free to play.
Yeah. So
it's always worth trying out.
Yeah. Should get a little crew and we go in there and see what we can run through. So. Yeah, just that on.
And actually, while we're talking about there, I did want to mention to people since it's finally released on the Xbox One, for this month only, they have what's called their Founders Pack, which apparently if you pay $30, it gives you access to all of the existing deities or characters that they've released, and also will give you access to all future deities so that you don't necessarily have to grind through and use the in-game currency. And on top of that, it gives you skins for some of the deities, as well as like some of the in-game currency as a bonus, right? And that's like the Founders Pack, but that's only available until the end of the month. And then at the end of the month, the pack that they'll have available when you pay money will only give you access to all of the characters. But apparently, and I think this is mostly just for characters or just for people that have been playing on the PC version. If you have the PC version and have been playing on the PC version and you've got an Xbox One, you can link your accounts so that if you play on the Xbox One, that character, and then turn it off and then go on your PC and use the same character, it'll link the account so that the experience that you gain on your Xbox One session will go towards the same character on PC when you bring it up.
A lot of games I've seen been doing those cross platforms like
right
that.
But that's only going to be available for this month, so the whole linking thing. So, and I mean, I think that's mostly just for people essentially that have already been playing the game on PC and trying to get them to also play it on the Xbox One, I think. But yeah, they're saying they're not going to have that come the end of the month.
Oh, okay. Hey, you know what else I've been playing now? I forgot about it too. They don't have it. It's like once a week. I think they're doing it. I've been playing Fable Legends.
Okay.
Have you tried that?
No, haven't tried that yet.
They give you a little, squad-based multiplayer mode that you get into. You got like you got an archer, you got your knight, you got your wizard, and it's basically you know what it almost kind of remind me of, like Dragon Age when you do the multiplayer. And you run through like a little mode like that. Yep. Same kind of thing. They stack you up with like 2 potions, and then you get your little special weapon. Yep. And then you get your main weapon, and you can heal your fallen comrades when they get lumped up. So that's kind of it. It hasn't been anything like what I'm used to for actual Fable, so I don't think they're going to give you any beta what I can see for the single player. That's probably the multiplayer of the game. Right. So, I mean, so far, nothing impressive. I played it for about an hour.
It's just there.
It's just there. It's like even when you get into the matches, the load time is so long. Like you're there for like a good 10 minutes. And the only thing that's interesting about that 10 minutes, they give you, how you invest in your character can make those do like stupid faces. Yeah. So that's all we're doing in this stupid lobby. Everybody's just freaking hitting on the ball. And there's this one where you can walk around like a chicken. Yeah, it's crazy.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was kind of it. So I don't know why they're trying to get people open, but I signed up for the beta. I was expecting something else because I've actually played the other Fable games, and I've actually liked them. So when I got that, it was just like, and they locked off like a lot of it. So when you're trying to walk into certain areas, you get these like pop-ups that come by and you can't go over there. So not impressed, Fable Legends.
Right. Oh well, Fable Legends. Wah. Yeah. But let's see, what else have I been getting into? Aside from, I've been putting in a lot of work on that World of Warships. One of the interesting things I saw on Kotaku, I just kind of wanted to bring up. You remember that game we talked about a while back called Star Citizen?
Yes.
Dude, I heard that so far they've raised over $87 million. Wow. $87 million for them to, and this is crowdsourced.
If you're paying $1,500 for a spaceship, that'll do it.
Exactly. But what's more interesting is they basically said that they were going to, you know, originally when they started this, they were like, hey, we're going to release this game in November 2014. That was originally when they said they wanted to release the game. And currently, really the only part that they've released is something called like Arena Commander and and I think another one that is called just the hangar, where you can look at your ship or ships and walk around it and get in it, but not necessarily fly it, right? So I think Arena Commander, I think, is like I guess you could say it's like a deathmatch kind of dogfighting scenario. And I think at one point they also had one other, what they call module, that you can fire up, where you are able to race. You know, you just take your ship and you race it around like a course or whatever. You know, almost like, you remember how in what was it? Was it Star Fox? Or, you know, some of those like old school flight games where the way they would train you is they put these big circles in various areas and you'd have to fly through the circles or whatever. I think that's kind of how their racing is. You know, they put big, you know, like gates or whatever that you have to fly through in order for you to do the match, right? So, you know, people, it's starting to get to people, especially the people that have paid money for it, right? They're like, okay, look, we put all this money into this game. You've gotten over $87 million. Where the hell is the game? Because apparently the way that the company or the guy or the creator is saying that he's doing this game is he's going to release it in these little small modules, you know, just little small pieces, rather than say, okay, here is a package. Instead, he's like, I'm going to release it in modules, right? So I saw this article on Kotaku, and it was talking about, you know, why the game is taking so long for them to actually do anything, given the amount of money that they've actually paid. And, you know, it was kind of interesting to see. You know, it was like, it kind of sounds to me like they're falling into that whole trap of, oh, we've got enough money to do a lot of good stuff. Let's do everything and try to do everything. But, you know, because they're trying to do everything, they aren't really getting anywhere, because, you know, they're trying to do all these little interesting ideas, and a lot of these ideas aren't working out, so they're scrapping them. But when you do that kind of thing, you're wasting time, you're wasting money, and you've got nothing to show for it, right?
I would totally agree. I'm on the site here, and I'm looking at these $45, $115 ships that you can buy.
Yeah, man, it's ridiculous. And hey, if you paid that much money for a ship, you'd want to take that thing and go, you know, No Man's Sky crazy with it, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I just can't have somebody be blowing up my $115 fantasy spaceship.
It's crazy. It's crazy, because it's like,
yeah, this is nuts.
Yeah, it's like they said they've got over 200 people currently working on the game in offices across 4 countries. 200 people on this one game that was apparently promised to be released in November 2014, and right now there's like nothing. And I mean, the way it was described is that this is supposed to be the MMO version of Wing Commander, right? Which is supposed to have like a complete
$15,000 ship here.
I know, right? It's like, what purpose is it for you to do all that if you're not putting out anything?
Yeah, well, not even that, dude. Who's gonna pay $15,000? Dude, that's a car.
Dude, people already have. That's what I'm saying. That's why they've raised $87 million. And I mean, this is like the most amazing crowdfunding thing ever, because interesting people, I'm not even going to call them stupid, because I mean, when you're passionate about something, you're passionate about something. If you've got $15,000 to dump on an imaginary spaceship, dude, who am I to say you shouldn't do that? If you got the money for it and you want it, take it. Right. Do that ish. But if you pay that amount of money, you best be damned that they damn sure that they gonna be all heated if they can't use it the way they want to use it. Dude, I'd want to be blowing up Death Stars, blowing up ants, blowing up, you know, spaceships. I'd want to blow up everything if I paid that much money for something in a game.
That's
and
a
apparently they
class,
can.
man. It'd be nice and donate the 15 grand to some poor mama that need a ride to take a baby to school.
Like me.
Oh, that's just crazy, man. I'm looking at this stuff. There's another one that's 10,000. There's one that's 5. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go for the 5,000 one.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely amazing. It's like, let's see, what was it? This is a quote from the article. They're like, X-Cloud Imperium, and that Cloud Imperium is like the name of the group that's developing it, right? They said, X-Cloud Imperium employees say Star Citizen's development has been characterized by an abnormally high number of features added and scrapped, but the creator, or the main guy, Roberts, defended the practice in an interview, pointing to the iterative design done by other big name studios. And he said, if I go and talk to people in the business, they'll have their stories about wasted effort or pain. It's the same stories you get on all big projects and distributed projects. You tend to scale up on big projects because you're trying to deliver a lot of stuff. But the bigger you get, the less efficient you'll get and the more friction you'll get in terms of trying to get things done. Dude, it's all talk. Everybody that wants something from this game is basically looking at you like, look, you want to make a massive MMO style, Wing Commander game. That's fine, that's great. But you got to start small, because at this point you've got nothing to show for it. Okay? You should at least make something that'll allow you to be able to, even if it was something as stupid and simple as World of Warships, and I don't even want to call that stupid and simple, but even if you had something to that level, a World of Warships Star Citizen, put 24 starships on the map, let them go at it, and have a tech tree, ways for you to upgrade your ship, buy more stuff for the ship and stuff like that. People would love that. They would go bonkers over that. Even if that was like the first stage, you got to at least have something so that people can, do something, because it's been so long. You can't just say, well, look, the games, you can't keep delaying the thing and be like, yo, we can't do anything because we tried to put this heads-up display, but the heads-up display didn't work right, so, we got to delay the game for another 2 years. You know what I mean? You can't do that.
Yeah, you can't. Not that.
Especially when people are dumping money like crazy into your game, allowing you to be able to do more stuff. You got to deliver something, So I don't know. It's weird. I mean, it looks nice. I've heard a lot of mixed reviews from people that have said, hey, the stuff that's available is okay, but is it really worth, 15 million, quadrillion, billion dollars? You know what I mean?
That's
So it's interesting, and I'm certain this will go down in history as one of those interesting situations, because honestly it makes me wonder, is this thing ever going to come out, or is this thing just going to fall apart just mainly because the gaming community, at some point the gaming community, the people that have put all this money in there, are going to get pissed off and want their money back or something. It's I don't know. I don't get it. But I mean, and kind of to Alex Viper's point, he's in the crew in there with you, with us. Some of these pay-to-win games, a lot of times, these games, what they're trying to do, because I know World of Warships kind of does something similar. It's not quite pay-to-win, but it's a similar structure. A lot of times what they'll do is they'll put in something into their free-to-play structure where if you pay for the actual premium subscription for that said game, what it does is, apparently the way they structure it is, if you're a premium member or founder or whatever, or subscriber, all of the things that you do in the game, you earn more money, you earn more experience. They may give you like extra equipment or whatever at a regular basis if you're a premium or regular subscriber. Of course they're trying to get people to pay them money regularly because it's free to play. If everyone played it for free, then they wouldn't make any money off of it. But as you said, Alex, the whole setting it up so that the only people who actually become good or can actually do anything in the game are in terms of setting it up so that the only way you can win is if you pay, is kind of what's the word I'm looking for, Jay? Disingenuous? Is that a word? Not genuine?
Well, I think that's what we're going to make it right now.
Right, that's a new word by your boy Bud 3000. It's the new trend, because it gets people in the door. If you like the game, you'll play the game. But then once you recognize that, hey, new shiny, this new shiny is what's actually going to make you win the game. Some people will actually pay for it in order to win the game because they like it so much.
I just can't get the price.
Yeah, and I think all companies struggle with that, especially the newer ones that are putting out new free-to-play games, because there's a lot of companies that do it. Yes, I said Alex, I'm sorry, that's just what your gamer or Twitch tag is on there. I'm not certain if that was really your name, but I'll just call you Viper. How about that? But yeah, that's the balance that a lot of these games have. Star Wars, they learned, they didn't quite learn, but they ended up having to learn that, the whole pay to have the game and then pay to keep the game, in terms of having a subscriber, being a paid subscriber to even play the game, is a model that I think you could say only works only worked really for World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
I don't think there's been a game since what was it, EverQuest? I think EverQuest was probably
but they didn't rate you either,
Right, they didn't. I mean, that was one of the granddaddies of the whole genre anyways. And they eventually progressed to, I think now it's free to play up to a certain level, and then you have to subscribe in order to go further, right?
Right.
And then now you've got games like Star Wars, who's struggling to bring subscribers or people back by putting out expansions. And same thing for Elder Scrolls. I don't know where they are in terms of how well they're doing, but they've got their model as well, where you got to pay to actually play the game, and then it's free. You don't have to subscribe to continue to play the game, but you do have the subscriber premium time in Elder Scrolls Online, which is interesting. I'm wondering if they'll end up changing their structure eventually either. I don't think they will. I think they're going to continue to be like, look, you have to buy the game in order to play the game. And if anything, it'll just get cheaper. Especially for the console versions, I think that's probably how that will continue. But, I mean, if you think about it, how many other games are out there like that are like MMOs that are successful that have lasted, Jay? They're mega popular.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot of them. And I mean, there's a lot of free-to-play MMOs out there, but there aren't a lot of them that you could genuinely say have been around for a while and are doing decent, I guess another one that's kind of like that, EVE Online. That is a ridiculously complex game that I am constantly in admiration of the community, because the community made and still makes that game. And it's one of those, hey, you've got to be hardcore in order to love this game and stick with this game. And yet, dude, it's like every 6 months you hear a new story about them breaking new records of some massive space battle with thousands of people in the battle at one time, and it's still going strong. It's still doing well, and they keep trying to expand it with stuff like what was that other game they had? It's like Dust 514. The
one that dropped on PS3, I think it was.
It's on PS3 or whatever.
And PC.
Mm-hmm. And Viper's talking about another one that's new, Path of Exile, which I think is kind of like I think you could kind of consider that I want to say like a Dragon Age style MMO, I think. That's kind of, is that accurate, Viper, to call it that? Kind of like Dragon Age, I think. I know it's an RPG kind of, but you know, we'll see what Viper is. Since I haven't played it yet, but I've heard a lot of good things about it. But yeah, that's one of the you know, that's one of the newer trends nowadays, I guess, especially consoles. It'll be real interesting to see what well, I take that back. What is it? The Steam, those Steam, what are they called? Steam consoles or Steam machines? That's what they're called. Where, you know, they're taking a Steam, we're taking the Steam OS and basically making a quote-unquote console out of it. But I guess the catch with that is it uses anything that a PC would use, you know. I was about to say, you know, that genre is going to get tested on the whole Steam machine scene, but, you know, that doesn't quite make sense. You know, all these games are already on quote-unquote Steam anyways because they're free to play on the PC, so. But, you know, that's the end thing. That's what developers are doing nowadays. It's a new model. Not necessarily a new model, but the sexy model, I guess you would say, that a lot of them are taking on nowadays. But, you know, we'll see. We will see. But, ladies and gentlemen, it's one of those things. Every time I get talking, I get all long-winded and stuff. I don't get to all the agenda and everything. But it's about time to go, ladies and gentlemen. It's about time to go. Goodness.
Shutting it down.
I know, right? I wanted to talk about some comic books that I've been reading, some movies and stuff. I didn't get to talk about none of that stuff. Maybe we'll save that for next week so we can possibly get Makita in there. I think she got tired.
Yeah, hopefully she, you know, we figure out what's going on with her.
Get rid of the technical difficulties. Yeah, we'll get that repaired. But 30 Helmato, let the people know what you'll be digging into if you do some streaming this week.
Probably doing a little bit of streaming. I was gonna do tomorrow night, but I can't. So it'll probably be Friday night. I'm gonna do something boring that Brandon doesn't like. I'll be doing some MLB The Show, baby. What?
Home run, yay!
Right. So I'm going to do some epic Yankee battles.
Nice.
And then I'm gonna go old school because I'm getting open for NBA 2K 16.
Yes.
So I'm gonna get my last little bit of 15 in.
Nice.
Okay.
Yep.
And I'm going Euro style this week, son. I'm doing Barcelona against oh man, there was other good team. I can't remember.
Palmanatra?
Yeah, one of them. So I'll probably be doing that a little too. So I'll probably get in a game of MLB. I'm gonna actually try to challenge someone online. See if I can get someone there. But if I can't get hooked up with someone in the first couple minutes, going dolo, it's just gonna be Yankee Boston, and then after that I'm gonna flip over and do some basketball. So that's what I got coming up.
Thinking Nation got the Spizzotes coming up
Friday night, baby.
Nice. And I will probably be, I think I might have time late in the evening to do a bit of streaming later on this week. More than likely, I'll probably be doing a bit more of World of Warships because I did pay for a little bit of the premium time, so I'm trying to take advantage of all the premium time that I paid for. Try to see if I can actually get a battleship before the premium time is done. So yes, you will see me blow up a lot, blow up some stuff. I haven't really blown up that many ships, but I've done a little bit. See if I can actually master the usage of torpedoes. And then I think I'll probably jump into a bit of Battlefield Hardline story mode, just to kind of give that a bit of breathing time as well. I think I do agree with Thick Nation over there. I think I'd probably enjoy that a bit more. And maybe other people will as well. So definitely be on the lookout for both of us. Dirty Helmet on Twitch as well as Bunny3000 on Twitch. Follow us both on Twitch as well as on Twitter, as well as Heed Geekswagg on both. That's HEED Geekswagg. Yes, because we are a portion of Heed Magazine. And of course, we are here on Ladies of the Round Table, on the Ladies of the Round Table channel. Be certain to tune in on this channel for Ladies of the Round Table. They have their own podcast. They run on Fridays at 9:30. They regularly have guests. They regularly have giveaways as well. And of course, as you guys follow us and talk about us to your friends and bring in the crowds and everything, we should be able to do some giveaways ourselves. So you gotta let people know we here. Let them know we here, and we'll start doing giveaways as well. But ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you guys for being here. I want to say bye to Makita. I know she was probably all over there steaming and fuming. We apologize. We're going to get her in next week. But Thinking Nation, say bye-bye to the people, homie.
Let peace, folks. We will catch y'all
on the flip. Say word. We love you guys. Thank you for tuning in. And we'll see you next week. Wednesday nights, as always, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here. Peace.